What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word? Hummingbird. Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup, Season 4, Episode 6, Extra Stress. So let's start off with Chaz and Branwen. So Branwen is about to be released. I think she's going to be released the next day. So Chaz has to fly all the way from his home state of Kentucky to Oregon. That is almost clear across the country to be there for her release date. He's doing a lot for this girl. So Chaz says that we've been dating for almost 2 years, and so he thinks it's the right time for them to get married. And I'm thinking to myself, 2 years when you're dating someone who's incarcerated, that's not like regular dating. I would not call that dating. Y'all, you've had a pen pal for 2 years, but you haven't been dating for 2 years because you don't go through the ups and downs of a regular relationship. You don't go through the bumps, the makeups, the breakups of a regular relationship. So you just had, this was just modern day pen paling. Because you remember, like back in the old days when people used to do pen pals, they used to write letters back and forth. Well, due to modern technology, now you can do FaceTime, you can text, talk on the phone, but it's still, I think, at the end of the day, she was just your pen pal for 2 years. So he says that they've only met one time in real life, so she should be prepared, like with how he looks like and how short he is, but he's still very worried about what she's going to think when she's released, and he's worried if she's still going to be, into him when she sees him in real life, and I'm not understanding why, because she's already seen you in real life. So he shows us the wedding ring set. He paid $4,000 for this set. It was cute. It was a little bit old-fashioned for my taste, but, it was a cute little set. So Chaz arrives at the hotel and Branwen calls him and she says that she's really worried about her because her best friend is also going to be there on her release date. Her best friend will be there and she's worried that her best friend Jessica is going to bring her ex-boyfriend Aaron because Aaron, she was, running around with Aaron when she was involved with all of these illegal activities and this identity theft. And when the cops showed up, he wasn't even around, so she was the one left holding the bag, and so she was the one who ended up doing the time. And so Chaz feels he has a lot of resentment towards Aaron because he blames Aaron for Chaz spending 2 years of her, Brandon was spending 2 years of her life in prison. Now, I understand him being upset with Aaron, but if it wasn't for Aaron not being there, and if it wasn't for Branwen, not going to prison, you would never have met Branwen. So you should actually thank Aaron and be grateful to Aaron because you met Branwen through a prison website, a prison dating website. So because of all of that, you ended up meeting the love of your life. So on the day of the release, he shows up at the prison, and as he's waiting for her to come out, it's cold, it's wet, it's dreary, he's shivering. As he's waiting for her to come out, there's a lady there as well who's waiting for her daughter to come out of the same prison. And they get to talking, and Chaz tells this lady that he plans on proposing to her as soon as she comes out. So the lady had a bouquet of flowers for her own daughter, and she ends up giving Chaz a red rose for him to give to Branwen when she comes out. And I thought that was really sweet because, he does have the ring and it is $4,000, but I'm thinking you still could have spent like an extra $10 or $12 for a bouquet of flowers. So Jessica shows up, the best friend. She shows up with her daughter. She shows up with Aaron, and not really much goes on. They introduce each other to them. They introduce themselves to each other. And they're just standing around waiting for Branwen to come out. So Branwen finally comes out. She comes out. She, hugs everybody. The hug that she gave to Aaron, her ex-boyfriend, it was like a really awkward, kind of like a little church pat. But she was so glad to see Chaz. And it looked like, the feelings between them was pretty genuine. But it always is in the very beginning. You just got released from prison. You're so happy to taste freedom. So yes, of course, you're going to be excited about whoever's there to greet you, whatever. We're not going to get into the whole meat of this relationship until, a week, 2 weeks after, they've been dealing with each other. So when she came out, she looked a little bit different than I thought she would look. She was still a pretty girl, but she did look a lot different than the pictures that they showed us. And so she actually had a gift for Chaz. Usually, it's the free person who has the gifts for their inmate, but she actually had a gift for him. And so she goes and she brings him a jewelry box, a wooden jewelry box that she made herself. And it was a pretty nice box. So I was was like, if everything else fails, Brandon, maybe you can go into woodwork as a living, because it was a really nice box. So it was a nice little wood jewelry box, and it was engraved with their names. It was engraved with their wedding date and two rings interlocked. And when you open it, it had like separate compartments in it. It was a really nice jewelry box, and it looked like Chaz really appreciated it. So after she gave him the jewelry box, he gets down on one knee and he proposes to her. And it was like a really quick proposal. It was just, will you do me the honor of being my wife, or something to that effect? I don't remember what he said exactly. And she said yes, and they hugged, and now they're engaged. It was really quick, really simple. And I think that's all that we have to say about that. Branwyn did say that she had asked God to bring her a really good man into her life. And I guess after that is when she met Chaz. And so she believes that Chaz is the one for her. Moving on to Antoine and Lacey. So Antoine has been released. They're driving from the jail facility. And in his confessional, Antoine says that they've been together. Here we go. They've been together for 2 years, and they met through his mom. And, I don't know what it is about Antoine. I don't know if he's like on drugs, or if he's just really nervous about being out, because he has spent, some time behind bars. And then he was also in the hole for almost 3 years, like 2 to 3 years. He was in the hole, which meant, I guess, he was in a cell completely by himself, no interactions with anybody at all. Every day, all day. So maybe that's it, kind of messed him up psychologically or something, but he just acts to me kind of strange. So when they're in the car, she gives him like a Tupperware container of chicken teriyaki. I guess that's his favorite food. So she's like, "Oh, look what I got for you." And so she gives him the chicken teriyaki. And he was like, "Oh, so I'm supposed to eat this cold?" So I thought that they were just going to go home and warm it up and he was going to eat it. But no, he wanted like restaurant food. So she finds a restaurant because he wants something hot. She finds a restaurant. He doesn't even want to go inside the restaurant with her because he's got like this social anxiety thing. He doesn't feel comfortable being around people or being in public or something. So she ends up getting the food for him. And they're in the car, they're eating or whatever, and he tells her that he wants to go see his mom. And, Lacey and his mom are not on the best of terms right now, because the last time that we saw, the mother was trying to convince Lacey to not date her son, because she says that, her son is just not ready to be in this, serious committed relationship that Lacey wants. So, and Lacey didn't like that. So ever since then, her and the mom don't really get along, even though they were once really good friends. So Antoine tells her, "I want to go see my mom." And you can tell from the look on Lacey's face that she didn't like that, because now I guess we're going to see this tug of war between the two women over Antoine. So because she doesn't really want him to go see his mom for some reason, she says to him, "Well, how many times has your mom put money on your books, and how many times has your mom come to see you when you were in prison?" And to both he said never. And so I guess she was trying to like let him know, like give him a hint, why do you want to see someone who was never there for you while you were in prison, and I was the one who was there for you? And I'm like, "Lacey, the boy wants to go see his mom." And you know how it is with parents and children. It doesn't matter what the parent has done, not done. There's still that bond there, that connection there. That's his mother. Okay, that's his mother. He wants to go see his mom. And there's no way that you're going to be able to stop that, except for COVID. So he calls his mom. He tells his mom that he wants to come see her. The mom says that she's got COVID, so he can't. Lacey says in her confessional that at some point he's going to have to choose between his mom and their relationship. And I have a pretty good idea on which one's going to win. So they arrive at her house, and he looks around her house, and to me her house was just fine, but he says something like, "Oh yeah," he said that her house was plain but cozy. And I'm like, what is it with these incarcerated men who go to their women's apartments or their women's homes and they're critical about it? I mean, you were in a jail cell, you were in the hole for so long, but you're going to come into her house and say, "Oh, it's plain." Anyways, but he did say, "Well, it's better than being in the hole." So they're sitting in the living room, they're drinking, and they're, he's smoking a blunt, she's like she's got a vapor thing. She's vaping, and they're just relaxed, chill, whatever. And so Antoine says that no, he wants to. So he calls his mother on FaceTime. He calls his mother again on FaceTime, and the mom's like, I'm really sorry, son, that I wasn't there on your day of release, but we're gonna get together soon. And so Antoine tells Lacey, oh, it seems like they're really having a good time over there, and I wish I could go over there. And so Lacey's like, sorry, and then I got the impression that his mom, like him and his mom, they turn up together a lot. Like they drink, smoke, do all this stuff together because Lacey says something about she doesn't want him to hang out with his mom because I think his mom is a bad influence on him or something. So it seems like his mom turns up and he wanted to turn up with his mom as well. He doesn't want to be with boring Lacey. So anyway, one thing leads to another. They go into the bedroom and dot dot dot. They got to kick the camera crew out, and we'll see how that goes or how that went on the next episode. Rick and Radine. So Radine has to go back to the halfway house, and as they're driving to the halfway house, as Rick is driving Radine to the halfway house, they're having a conversation. Oh no, before that, she's having a conversation. They're still at home. They're still at her parents' house, and she has to get ready to go back to the halfway house. And so Radine has a conversation with her dad, and she has a conversation with her dad, and her dad tells her that he does not want his daughter to use Rick because I think the dad asked her, so like, what's going on with you and Rick? Where do you see that going? She says she's got feelings for him, but she also has feelings for Radine. But Radine is going to be incarcerated for the next 4 years. Something tells me that during the course of this show, she's going to be getting out soon. But anyway, so Radine supposedly is going to be doing 4 years. And so Radine, not Radine, Kay, her girlfriend Kay, is going to be doing 4 years. So she's going to use this time to get to know Rick better and see, where things could go with them. So her dad tells her, I don't want you to use him. Even if he offers you things, don't take them because he thinks that y'all are together. He wants to be with you. He wants to have a future with you. So if you don't really feel the same for him and y'all are not on the same page as far as the relationship, don't accept anything from him because then it's like you're just using him. And so the dad says that, and Radine is always talking about, oh, I love Rick, I love Kay, I love them both. And the dad says, well, thruples don't work, threesomes don't work. So you're going to have to pick one or the other, but you're not going to be able to have both at the same time. It's just not going to work. So she has her last outing with Rick before she goes to the halfway house. So they go to the ice cream parlor that they went to when on their first date or something, when they first met. They go back to that place, and so it brings back a lot of memories. He even pulls out a picture that they took, and this was 5 years ago, the last time that they were at this ice cream parlor. So he pulls out a picture that they took on that day, and Radine was like, oh, I look so awful, I look so ugly, my hair is terrible. But she looked really good in that picture. She looked a whole lot healthier. She looked really nice in that picture. I don't know why she was so hard on herself. So from there, and then this is when you can see that Rick really wants to be with her, and he really wants to have this future with her. And so on their way to the halfway house, they're having to talk about their relationship and where it's going and how they're feeling, and where does Kay play into all of this. And so Rick tells her that he felt like he was being set up by Radine and Kay, and then Radine got really offended by that. She was like, I don't know why you would feel that way. And I think he was trying to say that he felt like he was being used by Radine and Kay because like that was the real relationship and they were just using him for money. And Radine denies it. And then she gets upset that he would even think that of her. So he asks her, what does she want? And she says, I want both of you. I love both of you. And he tells her that he feels like he was just being used. And he says Rick's not sure exactly what's going to be happening with them. He's just not sure. So I think Rick should just leave Radine alone because she's telling you straight up, hey, I have feelings for someone else. It is what it is. Let her go wait for Kay for 4 years and just leave that girl alone. Rick, go. And I know it's going to be really hard to break away from her, but now that you know that there's a whole other person involved in your relationship, why would you want to stay? And he thinks that he can somehow convince Radine to leave Kay alone. But I think the more he tries to do that, the more she's going to want to hang on to Kay. So he needs to leave Radine alone and move on to something and someone else. Moving on to Kevin and Tiffany. So Tiffany has been paroled to Kevin's house, which I did not know that from the last episode. So when she said that she was being paroled to his house, I was like, so you were going to have Curtis pick you up from the halfway house and literally take you to Kevin's house. That's what you have planned to do. Why would you want to do that? But that was her plan. So she was going to that's what she told him. Yeah, because I think Kevin asked her, so you were going to have him drive you to my house? And she was like, yeah, I was. So anyways, now she's all, Miss Sweetie Pie, and she's hugging all up on him, and she's being very apologetic. And he's a man, he's going to fall for it. So we find out that she had gone to prison for probation violation, and she was on probation for possession of meth. So Tiffany says that prison saved her. Because of her being in prison, she was able to, I guess, get clean. Now that she's released, she's going to be on parole for the next 15 years. I don't know if she's going to be able to make it, but she says that, she will. Tiffany tells Kevin that her plan was to have Curtis, take her to, I don't know why I keep repeating myself. So Tiffany says that she's very committed to Kevin. And Kevin says, well, if you're going to be paroled to my house, why couldn't I come to pick you up? And, she gives a really vague non-answer, which is, I just needed time to breathe. So the first night together, they make it do what it do. It was good for both of them. Hip hop hooray. Tiffany says that she initially had pulled back from Kevin because she was scared and not sure if Kevin was ready to settle down because he's got this reputation of being a ladies' man, so on and so forth. So she tells them that they both need to cut out everybody else in their lives and just focus on the two of them. So as we're having this conversation, Kevin's crazy ex Kayla calls him, but he ignores the call. But at some point, he does have a chance to talk to Kayla, and Kayla has no idea about Tiffany. And Kevin tells us that whenever Kayla thinks that he's seeing someone else, that's when she becomes even more aggressive. As long as she believes that there's no one else in his life, she kind of stays, at bay. But as soon as she gets the inclination that there's another female in his life, that's when she gets really aggressive. So I don't know how he's going to continue to hide Tiffany from Kayla. And Kayla is very scary to me. If I was Tiffany, I'd be very, very worried once you find out about Kayla. So moving on to Indy and Harry. So he's driving again without a license. They're having their very first date. There's no Coco, no nobody. It's just going to be the two of them. And once again, he's driving without a license. She's letting this happen. Indy, girl, you're dumb. You're dumb as hell. And I don't know. I don't know what's missing in your life. I don't know what's wrong with you, Indy. But after getting pulled over and going through that whole rigmarole, you're willing to risk that happening again. The only good thing about it is that Coco wasn't with you. So on their very first date, she was expecting to go to a really nice restaurant, and she wanted to put on a really nice, sexy dress for him and make it very romantic. But instead, this boy wants to go rock climbing. And so Harry says in his confessional that he is in love with two women and he doesn't know which one he loves more. So I was like, oh, do tell, Harry, because of course, we kind of knew that there's probably other females somewhere orbiting around Harry, but it seems like there's one very specific female in his life other than Indy. So Harry says that he's not, in his confessional, he says that he's not ready to have babies. And so the producer asks him, what type of birth control are y'all using? And he's like, we're not using any birth control. And the producer says, well, if you're not, then you're going to end up having babies with her. And he's like, no, because we're doing the pull-out method. Oh, yes, the good old pull-out method. 110% effective, right? Okay. So right before, so they're in the rock climbing thing and they're doing their thing up there, and you can tell that Indy wants it to be really cute and she wants to be really like romantic with him and act like this really cute couple doing something really fun. And I don't think he was in that state of mind with her. And I wonder if she could tell that he really wasn't like all about this cutesy cutesy thing. I didn't see it at all. So right before they leave, or as they're leaving, he gets a call. He gets a text, and she happened to glance at his phone, and she realized that the text was coming from a female because whatever emoji he uses for this particular female, it had like heart eyes and hearts all around it and whatnot. So she knew that he was getting a text from another female. So they show us the text messages, and it's somebody named Terry that he has under the name Terry Baby, and she wants him to come over. She wants to see him, and he tells her that he's trying to make it happen. So Indy did not see the actual message, but she knew that it was from a female. So her whole mood ended up changing completely. She got upset with him, and she doesn't want to deal with him anymore, right? She's over it. So she basically gets in her car and she leaves and she's out of there. And the producer asks Harry, well, who's Terry? And he says, I'm not answering that. Okay, why not answer that? Because we end up finding out who she is. She's a part of the damn show. So why didn't you just answer who she was? I mean, we were going to see her and see the two of you interacting together anyway. So, the next day, Indy says that she hasn't seen Harry all night. He never came home when she left the rock climbing place, and she feels like Harry is cheating on her again. Harry spent the night with Terry Baby. And Terry is an employee, or she was an employee of the halfway house that he was staying in, and she ended up getting fired because you're not supposed to have any kind of relationship with the residents there. And so she and Harry were getting it on. And I guess her higher ups found out about it. And so they cut her loose. And she brings that up to him because now we're at Terry's house and we're seeing the interaction between Harry and Terry. And Terry's like, you know what? I lost my job over you. And he's like, how many times are you going to keep bringing that up? I get it. So Terry wants him to completely cut off Indy. She wants him to tell her to pack her bags, go back to Maryland, and leave them be because she thinks that her and Harry make a much better match. So I think at some point, she's in the car driving somewhere, and her mother calls her, and but she doesn't want to tell her mom exactly what's going on because then it's going to prove that her mom was right all along. Her mom did not want her to have anything to do with Harry. She thought the whole thing was stupid. Her mom's a bounty hunter, so she didn't want her daughter dating an ex-criminal or an ex-con. So Indy's not going to tell her mom what's really going on, but she kind of hints that there's probably some issues, and her mom can tell from the tone of her voice that something's not quite right. So then she says that she feels really bad for her daughter because she said Coco got really attached to Harry. Say what? When, where, and how? The whole time that I've been watching Indy and Harry, I have not seen any kind of close connection between Coco and Harry. Not once. I don't know if she's even called him Poppy. What does she call him? Poppy Daddy? I don't even know if she's called him Poppy Daddy to his face. She refers to him as Poppy Daddy, but I don't think I've ever seen her call him that. I haven't seen them play together. I haven't seen him pick her up. I mean, nothing. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about. And of course, she's probably going to use the relationship, this so-called imaginary relationship, this imaginary bond between Harry and Coco to try to guilt Harry into staying with her if he ever tells her that he wants to break up with her. So, Indy says that Harry will still hurt me. She says it will still hurt me to leave him even after all he's done to me. She's going to find it very difficult to break away from him. Harry says that he really appreciates both women, but so he doesn't know which one to choose. Both of them are really interested in helping him get better, helping him get his life back on track. He's attracted to both of them. He just doesn't know what to do now. So Terry says that Harry needs to choose Indy or her. And I'm like, well, why don't you make that decision for him? Why don't you remove yourself from the equation? Actually, both Terry and Indy need to remove themselves from the equation. And then if it's meant to be, I don't see how anything could be meant to be with Harry. But if it's really meant to be, then he'll go to the one that he loves the most. And boom, there he made his choice. But you can't be with him, interacting with him, giving him yourself, giving yourself to him, paying things for him while he's there trying to decide which woman to choose. I mean, that's ludicrous to me. Both of you break up with him and then let him go do his own thing and just see who he gravitates to or whatever. I don't know. But Indy has no business being with Harry. Tiffany, if she has no children, maybe she's the one that should be with Harry. But Indy, remove yourself from the equation, pack your stuff, get your daughter, and go back to Maryland. That's it. Thank you so much for joining me in this review. I really do appreciate it if you made it this far. Don't forget to rate the video and please don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Bye.